All right. So the first question we have is number 3. Number 3, the problem is negative. Come on, Finn, wake up. Negative absolute value of A minus 3B. And then A equals negative 2, B equals 6. So what you do is you plug the values in, simplify, and you go from there. So first, negative absolute value, negative 2 minus 3 times 6, absolute value. Negative 3 times 6 is negative 18, so negative 2 minus 18, absolute value, negative. Inside, you get the negative absolute value of 20. Negative 20, try again. So, absolute value, this question I was asked like the most this morning was, what does absolute value mean? How far away is negative 20 from 0? It being negative, all that does, this is 0, and I have negative 20, it means it's on the left side of 0. That's what negative 20 means. It's on the left side of 0. It's in the negative land of zeros and integers. How far is this distance? That's the absolute value. This distance is 20. It would take 20 steps to get back to 0. That's what absolute value is asking you, is how far away is that number from 0? So the absolute value of negative 20, that simplifies to 20. Okay? That negative on the outside stays as far as the answer, so now my answer is just...
For every single problem,
You simplify, yes.
So you want it to do 2 plus 18.
Correct. You can't do 2 plus 18 because it actually might come out to be just a different number. You can't just change the symbols. Because if that was a positive 2 and an 18, 2 minus 18 is negative 16. And if you make them both positive, you change it to be negative 16 to automatically become a number of 20. So you don't change any symbols until you get it down to a single value inside. Or a single variable set inside. Other questions on that one? Okay. Number 4. See if these pens wake up. You have A equals 180 times n minus 2 divided by n. A equals 120. All right? The semester review package should out before break. You pick one up before break? I gave it out like after test, chapter 4 test. I know what you have to take sometime. Thank you. Got it? Yeah. So, what is this asking you to do? Find n. This formula is from geometry. It's the sum of the interior angles of a regular polygon for one single angle in that regular polygon. That's what the formula 180 parentheses divided by, or n minus 2 divided by n is. Okay? So in order to do this problem, you can't have any denominators. So you could technically put this over 1, cross multiply, which is how I've shown most of you when I simplify it in. So I'm just going to write down an equals 180 n minus 2. So that's just getting this n out of the denominator. Okay? So A really is 120, so this is 120n equals, and now I'm going to distribute 180 n minus 360. From there, I don't care which way you solve it. I've solved it every way today, yesterday, Friday, Monday, every day. I don't care if you have negatives or positives. Either way, it works out. So if I move 180 to this side, I get negative 60n equals negative 360. Divide by negative 60. N equals 6. Which is just telling you that you have a hexagon. But the point of this question, and the point of question number 6, which you guys are still confused about, which I love because I'm teaching that now, is you're just solving for a variable. And remember, whenever you have variables in denominators, you got to get them out of the denominators. Bye, Miss Carissa. Thank you. So, are we good on number 4? Sorry, my allergies are bugging me. All right, number 6. 2 over 5y equals 3 over 14. These are ratios, which they are a proportion, which if you've seen any of my stuff up on my boards for geometry for the last few days, mainly it was like right here, you're just cross multiplying and dividing. So when you cross multiply, this times this, so you get 28 equals 15y, divide by 15, y equals 28/15. Done. That's it. I know it's scary because you haven't seen anything like that in a really, really long time, but that's all we're doing. Took off my badge. Okay. Oh well. So that's number 6. Questions on that? Don't be scared of the ratios. They're your friends. They're your cross multiply divide questions. They're your literally cross multiply divide. Number 7. The first one of absolute values. Absolute values, in order to solve, not simplify, you must get the absolute value by itself. In order to do that, to start, divide by 3. So then I have the absolute value of x minus 5 equals 4. Absolute values have 2 cases. Okay? There are 2 numbers, once again, that we just talked about. This is 0, that have the distance of 4. So you have 4 is 4 away from 0, and then the other number that's 4 away from 0 is negative 4. So this is what it's asking you, is what numbers are equidistant as a value from 4. That's why you have to do 2 cases, because you have 2 possible solutions that inside can be. So when you have 2 possible solutions, this value here can be 4, because of the fact 4 is away from there, and the value inside could also be negative 4. So your 2 problems are right there. So now it is you just solve it. So this one is x equals 9, x equals 1. Add 5, add 5. And that's all you're doing with absolute values. Does that jog some more memories back? Sweet. Are we all good on these ones that I can turn the page? Let's start on number 10. Number 10, you can do a million different ways. I've talked to like 7 different kids. I've done it 7 different ways. So, and then how you come and ask me your question depends on how I do it. So, number 10. Holly, which one? I'm going to do it now. I'm on 10 right now. Okay. I'm with you. So, Yoshi is 12 years older. So you have Yoshi equals sister plus 12. And you got sister. The other information they tell you is 6 years later, Yoshi plus sister equals 32. Let's see if you can see all that. This y and this s is not the same as this y and this s. Here's the reason why. 6 years later. So 6 years later means it's really Yoshi plus 6 and sister plus 6. That means they age 6 years apiece. It's not a total 6 between them, it's 6 years each. So you can do this one of 2 ways. You can do Yoshi plus 6, so the y that's on the right side is the same as the y that's on the left side. You just got to put this in there for it. And that's just the same. Or, the sum of their age now, not 6 years later, would be 32 minus 12. That's 6 years later, each. Can't see that. 6 years later, each, if I subtract 12, the sum of their age now is 20. Does that make sense? So if you age 6 apiece and your sum is 32 6 years later, if you take off 12 years, 6 for Yoshi, 6 for his sister, their sum of their ages right now is 20. So what I can do is I can come back to this equation on the left, make it nicer, which I just figured out like how to do that really this year. So we know that Yoshi plus sister now have the ages that add up to be 20. Yoshi is 12 years older, so really, this is Yoshi. That's going to be my wonky plus sign. Sister equals 20. So, 2 sisters plus 12 equals 20, and you guys have already probably subtracted off 12 and divided it by 2, which is fine. Or said, hey, if their ages are 12 years apart, what two numbers can work it out? No. Didn't forget anything. 1s, 2s. S plus S is 2s. Because instead of having 2 variables, I made it into 1 variable. Because we rewrote originally, Yoshi is sister plus 12 years. So when you plug it back in, you make it in 1 variable, otherwise it's really hard to solve. You could also do a system, and I just don't want to do systems, because I don't want to do substitution or elimination. I can, but I'm a math teacher and I have to do the algebra right. No, it's usually a multiple choice test. You got a big chunk of this test, it's multiple choice. No, not all of it. What? Stretch? Okay. Other questions? All right. Number 12. It's a compound inequality where you have something in the middle. Whatever you do to the middle, do to both sides. Minus 10, minus 10, minus 10. Why did I subtract 10? To cancel that out. Negative 12 is less than 4z. I totally didn't copy this down right again. Don't lose that symbol. Which is less than or equal to 2. Divide by 4, divide by 4, divide by 4. Negative 3 is less than z, which is less than or equal to 1/2. Questions on that one? Now, that's solving it. If you had to graph it, mind you, we could ask you to graph anything. Graphing. Negative 3, 1/2, closed circle on a half, open circle on a third. Because z's all in the middle, my answer's all here in the middle. So that's if you had to graph it, like you do on number 16. Number 13. (2x minus 5 is less than or equal to 10, or 33 minus 4x is less than 5. This is an or, so these are 2 separate problems. You do one problem on the left, and then you do the problem on the right, and then you graph accordingly. So, add 5, 2x is less than or equal to 15, divide by 2, x is less than or equal to 7.5, or 15/2. I'm going to add the 4x over, plus 4x, I'm going to subtract the 5. I don't want to have to worry about dividing and multiplying by a negative number, so that's why I'm doing it this way. 33 minus 5 is 28, is less than 4x, divide by 4, divide by 4, x, try that again. 7. 7 is less than x. So when you have an OR, you have to look at this answer and figure out which one's the best because they both want certain answers. So you got to double check that nothing crosses. So this is 7 and this is 7.5. Do we all agree on that? So on those two numbers, I want all the x's greater than 7. So if I want greater than 7, that means I'm going this way. Okay? This says I want all the x's less than 7.5 or equal to, which is going this way. What happens if everything is covered? Your answer is all real numbers. So whoever had that question, does that answer why now? You good? Mallory, you good? Okay, just making sure. All right, next one we'll do is 15. So on a multiple choice test, if you had the answer where you had something where it was like that and it was an OR answer and they intersect and you had only the option of all real numbers, that's why you pick all real numbers. If it was a handwritten part of the test and you wrote it out as this and this is OR, you're technically not wrong. You would want to have the real numbers because that's better, but you're not wrong because you still have the OR in there. Okie dokie. 16. Not 16, 15. 15, absolute value, 3w minus 7, absolute value, 2. Less than or equal to. So just like before, we want two numbers that are equidistant of 2. So I have a 0, so I could be 2, or I could be negative 2. So when I do this case, that's fine. It's exactly as is. What happens here when I do this case? What happened to my 2? It changes its sign, so you also have to change your inequalities. So the way to do inequalities with absolute values, the first one is exactly as you see. That's just the normal case. It doesn't matter if it's a negative number or not. It's whatever you see. The first case you always do is what is there. When I do the second case, I'm going to change the sign of what I am less than or greater than or equal to, the part that's by itself, the non-absolute value. So I change that sign to be negative 2. I changed its sign. It's an inequality. So you must also change the inequality symbol. 3w minus 7. Add 7, you get 3w is less than or equal to 9. Divide by 3, w is less than or equal to 3. On this side, add 7, I get 3w is greater than or equal to 5. Excuse me. Divided by 3, w is greater than or equal to 5/3. On my number line, I would graph this. This is 3. This is 5/3. This is a closed circle. So I'm going to do this one in red. This one is a closed circle. I want all the w's greater than. And I want all the w's less than. I cannot go past the circles because it's not an OR. Also, if you aren't sure, take a point down here and test it. A number that's on the other side of 5/3 is 0. If I plug 0 in, is the absolute value of negative 7 less than 2? No, so that's why this one can't work. Pick a number bigger. Pick 5. Just picking nice, pretty numbers. 3 times 5 is 15. 15 minus 7 is 8. Absolute value of 8 is not less than or equal, so this doesn't work. So then I know my answer is 5/3 is less than or equal to w, which is less than or equal to 3. So that's how you get the answer there. So Celia, are you good for that for 14 then? No? Okay. Do we still need to do 16 just in case? Okay. 16. 8.5 is greater than 6.1. plus 0.6y. Subtract 6.1 to the other side, you get 2.4. It's greater than 0.6y. Divide by 0.6, divide by 0.6. I should know that number off the top of my head. It's probably going to be 4, but I'm not trusting myself. It's 4. It's greater than y. So if I come here to my numbers, 4, want all the numbers less than 4, there you go. So this and this are your answers. There's no absolute value. So correct, you don't have to. So that pretty much sums up chapter 1. Alright, next page. Start looking at questions that you might have. I'll ask you here in the next few minutes. I can't stop the video, so it's okay. But I'll give you about a minute to look at what questions you have questions on. Alright, 17 through 21. Questions on 17 through 21. 17 through 17. 20. Say what? 18.